So today, I really want to I just kind of want to get this out. There was no real way. I mean, I can like set up a camera and do all that stuff, but this is my streaming setup, and I was like, you know what? Just let me go over what I really feel about it. But I do feel like long form conversation is a form of decolonization for our future. And with that, I can shorten it up by saying just podcast is a form of decolonization for our future. And when used properly, because the way that we break down nuances is through long form conversation. It has to be, and it has to be, to me, in a way where it's more. You have to approach it in a way that is like intentional with understanding someone's side who's completely different from yours or is close to yours, and you're trying to figure out ways that are solutions. Because if I just talk to someone, or if we're talking and we're kind of having the same issues, or we're having the same celebrations, and we're just kind of like talking about it, I feel like that's not intentional. I feel like that's just kind of like shooting the shit. But if we're talking about issues and we're coming up with solutions and it's solution based, I really believe that it is like a great starting point for decolonization or decolonizing our mind, because now we're coming up with ideas, but we're getting new information on old ideas or old thoughts or old systems, and just seeing it in a different perspective, but also finding ways to be a bit more like, I just better understanding. Like, you could be aware of things, but if you understand them a lot more clear, like the clarity on it, I feel like if it just has to be like intentional. And I'm gonna start this even more. Like, I'm gonna go way more in depth in on this, because it's one, I feel like it's needed. Two, I feel like there's just such there's a huge point that we're missing with like long form conversation. There's people who tapped into it really well and have made like a good. They have a lot of successes with it, and I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about more of like in-depth conversation, because the depth of discussion goes a lot deeper, right? And it just feels a lot more. It allows you time to kind of explore a specific subject, which you can cover multiple angles. Again, the nuances. There's just layers of things that short form content, news, blurbs here and there, they just really can't accommodate for. So like these type of conversations, you able to gather context, or share context, share background. And there's a difference between like a complex topic and a complicated topic, whereas complicated is like, oh, well, it's complicated. And then you can kind of explain that, but complex, it takes longer, to me, a longer route to explain something complex, because you have these multiple pieces that are sitting there, and you're kind of like, well, this is this, and they don't interact with them, and then this came about, and so it made it so there's a lot more time to explain that. And I feel like this is very, very like simple, but I want to talk through it, because the decolonization part of it, it is, again, I'm deconstructing what I've learned, but on the flip side of it, now if it's solution based, now we're creating a new future. It's this is not the first time I've heard it or whatever. I wanted to start to write it down, and or get it written up in a way where I'm like, oh, I can pull for that, because I'm gonna be able to pull this transcript from this and then like piece it up to where it can be something valuable. And I just think it makes it easier to kind of grasp big picture stuff when you're able to break that down, and we can clarify or elaborate on things like specific points, and then we can even explain abstract points, which again, you don't have the ability to elaborate on those ideas, and you honestly reduce misunderstandings doing that. Like you're allowing for a more precise communication pathway, right? Um, and then if you have a great conversation going back and forth, you allow for follow up questions. You allow more room for people to kind of get into it, because as a listener, sometimes in podcasts, you're kind of you're a fly on the wall, and you feel like you're in that conversation, and you're thinking with the other. The other person may ask what you're thinking. So long form conversations, you get enabled, or it enables the person to ask follow ups, and honestly, they could challenge an idea. They can dive deeper on certain points of it that may require more attention. You like, oh, like tell me a little bit more about that. I don't know about that. Like that little saying that is gonna go deeper into it. But I hate using this word, but there is like a holistic understanding of it. Like, yeah, I mean, you can hyper focus on one complex issue, but you can go over multiple on it. So like there is like this whole piece to it to where you can be technical pieces, ethical, social, and historical. So all of those pieces can be laid out. You can lay them all out. You can see how they constructed now. We can like, all right, so since this is this, but now we know this, how do we move from here? And so, again, I feel like it's very, very simple, but just for me going over it, I think is more beneficial for me to even just get it out. Because when I say things, and I believe like when you speak things, they do not necessarily come into existence, but now you're able to kind of have like a recall of that. Some pretzels, yes, I'll grab them here in a minute. And yeah, it's just you're able to pull the you can pull something from the content that I'm creating. Like I'll be able to pull something from this that I know I'll be able to like either push someone to like, hey man, I had a breakdown of just why long form communication is a form of decolonization. And they go like, oh, so like getting this out is like one, this is long form. This is long form. I could say this in like a 2 sentence thing and then be fine with it, but I am breaking down like the multiple aspects of it. All right, be nice. Um, yeah, again, we're able just to kind of see how people contradicting things and really explore the deepness of it, of like two topics that are like intertwined, because people have these misconceptions of Israel and how that was all set up, and then you have the truth, and then you have misconceptions of uh, civil rights and how like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, 9/11. There's a whole bunch of things that are historical, documented things, and then people have a misconstrued idea of how it actually happened, what really happened, and to kind of go through those things, you can kind of give a long form conversation a salute on this because you get the space to kind of go through it and like really figure it out instead of just glossing over it. But again, you it's just like it gives experts the opportunity to go deep because their knowledge is so vast. They can't like you're able to just really pull a lot of ideas that they have that they're not able to get out, that they can do, that they can't push into like a published piece for whatever. But what you're able to do is in conversation they can say something, and they can bring up like a moment from their childhood or a moment that happened recently and tie it in to like really bring the message home. They can. I just think humanizing like experts is like a really great thing that podcasts do, from just the ones I listen to. Like it's just so like it's to me, I think that's an undervalued aspect of podcasts. Like we listen to it, we love them, but I do think again humanizing the expert instead of like, oh, it's that person that's who's in the New York Times. It's like, oh, I'm listening, I'm looking at them, I can see their facial features when they really have like a visceral reaction to a question or something. Like it again, it humanizes the conversation, it humanizes the point that they're trying to bring. If they're passionate about it, if they're dismissive of it, those type of things make things more relatable and easier to understand. But yeah, again, it's just it's so much things. Like uh, you can provide more active listening. You can really be in a conversation, like I said, fly on the wall. You're really listening. You're like, okay, oh, okay, like people like fostering critical thinking as listeners. Sometimes you're able to reflect on it, like, in real time. Like you're able to like piece these things up and like get these aha moments. I have so many aha moments just listening to podcasts. And so for me, I just think that again, I'm making this long form video that's right now 10 minutes long. Yeah, pull it out. And again, like it's again, it's if we want to decolonize our mind or decolonize whatever it is, we have to create space for the future and create space for evolution and being understanding that these complex ideas often require like a back and forth. You have to have that. There's no way that it's going to be like just forth and forth and forth and yeah. It's like we could push back on something that may not need to be addressed. It's like I mean it's just so much. There's so much that has been recorded in the history of time. So in order to have the back and forth, I feel like we're able to like unpack things properly. I mean, that's I use that like because I come from being Native and Black, and some people they try to just unpack just Black people. It's like, oh, you can't really just do that. Like, we're so nuanced. You can't just unpack the Black culture. You can't unpack hip hop. You can't unpack soul food. Like, there's layers of it. Like, there's so many layers of it. But again, long form formats allow ideas to develop gradually. You're able to like, let's kind of pulse from this, and you can get insight on that, and you can see progression of thought throughout. So I mean, in short, long form conversation. They also they provide a time and space which is super necessary to unpack all the intricacies of complex subjects, complex systems, complex ideas in a way that actually promotes deep, thoughtful, understanding solutions. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna do more of these. Like I said, I really want to take a deep dive down it. I'm probably gonna have a conversation with someone about this. But yeah, this is how we start. Peace.